So let me go ahead here and here. You can see me. I am here. And hopefully you can hear me. Double check. This is DTM. Oh, yes, it looks like we have good sound. And I have my trusty cup of coffee. You know, I'm always drinking coffee. It's my thing. It is delicious. I always look for different places to go buy coffee at so that I can try out different flavors. And I look for the smoothness and flavor. That's what I'm about.
You're a connoisseur.
Yes. You know, if I'm going to drink coffee, and, you know, that's like my only vice, you know.
It's the go juice, right?
That's
the
right.
go juice, baby.
The go juice. So we're back. Delta Tango Mike, Coffee Break with DTM. Let's go ahead and get started and start with my intro video. Hey, you are now watching Coffee Break with DTM. I am Delta Tango Mike. This is my coffee cup, and let's go ahead and take a sip, get ready for some awesome conversations with some cool artists and creatives from the ATL community.
What is the art life like today?
That's right. What is the art life like today? Good question. And that's why we do these interviews and conversations with artists, so that we can get into the mind of a particular creative and see where they're going with their career, where they came from, and hopefully that story inspires you to start your career, start on your steps, because none of us, and this is a cool story we're going to talk about today with this awesome guest. I'll let him tell you his name. But what none of us who are here talking about our careers started yesterday or started this morning. And you don't start like at a level that you're happy with yourself. It's always going to be a slow grind to go up in the air, like an airplane. It's going to take a good sized runway to just get going at the right speed to get up in the air. And so hopefully some of these stories will get your engines started so that you can get on that runway and get on and fly towards your career. So let's go ahead, switch cameras with our trusty CineMaker and say hello to our awesome guest today.
What's up, everybody? Hello. My name is Miles Davis, and I've been an artist for working on 15 years now professionally, and been an artist my whole life, actually. So looking forward to spending some time with you guys.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and now ask him a couple questions. And I always do the same thing.
Sure.
You already told us your name. Now you're going to tell us where you're from. So tell us where you're from and where you grew up.
Okay. Well, I grew up in the military. My dad was in the Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
He was a JAG officer. And
nice.
About every 3 years or so, we moved around. So, but it's mostly coastal. So I grew up in California, Hawaii, New Jersey, which actually I absolutely love New Jersey. I had a blast there. And Florida, and ended up going over to Warner Robins, where I ended up going to Alabama, finishing up high school, and ended up coming to Atlanta, where I got to meet Dan the Man over here. So for years now. Yeah,
right? We've known each other for a long time
For
now.
a minute.
I don't even know how or when, but.
At least 7 years, 8 years.
And you was in our shows, though.
Oh, yeah.
In the Mano a Mano art shows.
That's right.
And I can't remember when was the last time we did one of those shows. I know I'm wearing one of the shirts from one of those shows.
Oh, yeah. I wore your Artist King shirt yesterday. I was walking around wearing Artist King yesterday. I still have those T-shirts,
That's
man.
nice. There you go. That's nice. So, yeah, I don't know how long we've known each other, but you were way out of high school by then.
Oh, yeah. I'm 40 now. You can't tell. I don't have the wisdom highlights like Dan yet, but I'm working on them. So, yeah.
The wisdom highlights. That's cool. So being in the military, although your father was in the military, it kind of gave you access to different types of people and cultures and customs.
Love that. Yes, very much so. That, and when you move every 3 years, especially as a child, you learn very quickly who you are as a person. And you can choose to be insecure about that, or you can choose, notice I'm using the word choose, to learn more about yourself, but you learn how to work with people and how to present yourself, and it builds that hopefully that outgoing personality,
mm-hmm.
Which quite frankly comes in handy with your artwork, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I think it's coming very handy for me because I've been able to utilize that. I'm courageous. I don't mind failing. It gives me that confidence to put my work out there.
Yeah.
Whether it falls flat or not, it's up to the people. But
so do you have siblings?
I do have siblings. Yeah, I'm the oldest of 5. So we're like the Brady Bunch.
Oh, you're the
man.
oldest of 5?
I'm the oldest of 5 that are blood related, and then I have 3 older stepsisters and an older stepbrother.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we're definitely
busy family.
Yeah, we got busy. That's how we do. That's how we do. But no, it's in the military. My parents were divorced when I was 5.
Okay.
And that's actually how I got involved with artwork.
Mm-hmm.
Was flying back and forth between the households and the airplanes.
So when you're going back and forth, and I want you to tell us about the art part
Sure.
too, but are you traveling with your other siblings that are younger than you? Oh,
just one. I have one brother that's the same mom, same dad.
okay, so you and your brother,
Yep,
you get
by the
shipped
time
around.
It's like 5, 6, 7 years old. We were traveling by ourselves. If you guys remember the airline Northwest Airlines, do you remember that airline? That's what we were flying on, Northwest. With peanuts. We had a chaperone. We actually got kicked off one time because he and I got in a fight. Now, 7-year-olds getting in a fight on an airplane, that's not a big deal. But we popped ketchup. We were fighting over ketchup, and we popped ketchup. And so we got off the plane. My dad already had that look on his face when we got off the gate, like, it's like, oh, he did it. He did it. You know? So, but yeah, now that's how we grew up, though. And then, of course, I have some half siblings, my mom and my dad's side, all wonderful people. And then my stepfather had 4 children before he got remarried to my mom.
Okay.
So honestly, my youngest brother on my mom's side is actually the same age. He's the uncle to my stepdad's oldest daughter's oldest son. So they're the same age. Same age.
Yeah.
Welcome to Alabama, baby.
I didn't say it.
I'm just playing. Y'all know I love Alabama. Come on. No, I'm just joking.
Oh, so all that traveling back and forth, you said it sparked your creativity. How did it happen? What did you start doing?
Well, from a young age, my parents said when I was a young age, I actually have a really good story for it. It's a true story too.
All right.
When I was
those work out.
Yeah,
for us.
it's all right.
Story,
I don't know. I'll try to keep it nice. But I was 1 year old, and we have a picture of this. So I actually have a photo of this. Marissa has it, and we've used it for some marketing materials before. But when I was 1 year old, being in the military, before my parents got divorced, of course, my parents had a Korean babysitter, and one of their buddies from the military had married this woman, and she was down the street from us, and she really loved me for some reason, and she liked to come down and babysit and things like that. So on my 1 year old birthday is what I was told. She asked my parents permission to do some kind of birthday celebration or whatever it is that she knew about, and she laid out a bunch of items in a circle around me, said some prayers, and then put me down in the middle, and whatever I crawled to, I was going to become.
Is that okay?
I picked up a paintbrush. True story.
All
And
right.
There's a picture of me holding it up, my little Oshkosh Bagosh overalls, just sitting there holding it. and there was a chef hat. There was a $1 bill, which meant I was going to be like a really rich businessman.
Financial
so,
stuff.
yeah, here I am, starving artist. You know.
No. We talk about thriving artists. We say thriving artists.
Oh, I'm definitely. After what? 15 years on the grind, man. I'm making it. It's
You making
happening. It's happening. I'm still looking up the mountain, but I can see the top.
That's right,
You
and
know?
that's what matters. There you go.
Exactly. You know, it's not going to do itself.
And that's always going to be a mountaintop. Another one and another one. Just
Right.
like when I remember the Appalachians last time I went years ago.
Yeah.
You know, and you can see you're at the top of the mountain, but you can see other ones.
Right,
And
yeah,
they're
exactly.
farther away and so on, and that's how it is. So
And I'm gonna
anyways.
start flying from mountain to mountain.
There you
after
go.
That, you know?
Yeah.
It's that first climb that's always the hardest, right?
That's right, and then you get used to it, and then
Exactly.
it's easier to jump on.
I actually teach a little bit, and I tell my students it's a lifestyle. This is a lifestyle. This is
Right.
not something that you're gonna. It's not a get rich quick scheme.
Right.
There's no guarantee you're gonna get rich. You gotta do it for the love of what you're doing. And if you do it genuinely and honestly, I think that your career will start to unfold.
Right.
But you have to be honest with yourself first, and it's work. It's work.
It's work, and right, and so a few definitions in there, and we're gonna get back to the story in a second.
Sure.
But these are the topics that I get into. Definition of rich, you know, being true to yourself, and know it's a grind, but the grind is that is not a grind of manual labor, sweating under the earth, you know,
Right.
mining coal,
Right,
you know,
exactly.
to survive and pay your bills. The grind is the kind of grind that where you really like to do this thing and you don't want to do anything else with your life.
Exactly.
You know, I've been a cook, I've been a landscaper, I've been a forklift driver. I worked at a steel company. When I was worked in a steel company,
Nice.
my arms was big. I was working.
Nice, right?
It was hard work. You know, but that's not what I want to do. That's a grind too, but I don't want to do that kind of grind.
Exactly.
I want to do the art grind. So you know, so we like to tell people and emerging artists these things. We have to define it so that they understand and know that if you're true to yourself and you enjoy it, then go ahead and jump on it.
Yep.
You know, but don't think that's a get rich quick scheme.
No, it's not. It's a lifestyle. I'm
And,
telling
it's a
you.
lifestyle, and then the rich part you got to define what rich is and success, you know.
Right.
And
Two different things.
Yes, and it could be, your definition could be, I'm rich enough to afford my lifestyle. You know, the buying of the art materials and still paying my bills and living in a comfortable home with my family and so on. You know, so we have to define things.
I think that's like a mid-level thing. When I first started, I would go paint at restaurants for a meal.
All right.
I would paint live. I'd get a free hamburger and a beer.
Right.
And after a while, I was like, okay, I got ramen noodles. Now I can buy chicken.
That's right.
And then after a while, I started going up from there.
But listen. If you didn't go out there and did the live drawing for the burger, then you would be live drawing in your house.
Exactly.
Right.
I might as well be.
Right. You was gonna paint anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And I might as well show it to people.
And I'm gonna do it out in public,
people,
and now
right?
I get to eat. And so on.
I made business cards on cheap copy paper, like this little cheap copy paper, and hand out sheets of paper.
Yeah.
It wasn't any professional business cards, anything like that.
Right.
It was just a way to get out there. And I equate with any kind of entertainment career. You have to get out there, and you're going to have to take your hits. You have to do it honestly, and just hopefully take it in stride. Everybody has their bad days and their good days.
Right.
But it's that focus of mind and that diligence. That's
There
my
you go.
opinion, anyway.
There you go. And yes, and we can go on about this all day because we're very opinionated about how our careers have gone on and what it's going to take for anybody else to follow up.
Well, I was going to tell you, you asked me earlier about how I got started in artwork. I was in the airplanes with my brother, and I'll sum that real quick. But he was really big on, like, you know, when Game Boy was a thing, like the little black and white old school 8-bit Game Boy. He was really good at it. So he would actually, like, play for hours on the airplanes, like going between households, right? Because my parents were divorced. And I would get it, and I'd die like in 5 minutes. And get back to him, he'd play for like an hour. I get back, die in like 2 minutes. Get back to him, he'd play for like an hour, and the battery's dead.
Right.
And it's like, crap, man. I'm gonna play for like 10 minutes. So, but when he was working on stuff, I would end up getting out like my little notebook, and I would sketch and draw on the airplanes.
Oh, I see. And
you do that long enough, you just naturally are gonna get better. And I actually learned a lot from drawing Spider-Man.
Okay.
Because if you take off his costume, he's like a mannequin. You know, like there's no cape, there's no hair. It's just like a head and muscles.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So I would just copy Spider-Man. I would trace Spider-Man, and then a little bit over time, it starts clicking, starts gelling, and then so by the time I was like 8 and 9, I was already really working on muscle structure and all that kind of stuff. So
nice, thanks.
So, yeah. So that's how I got started. Really.
And that's what's going to be one of my guesses, in that because you traveled a lot and you were a kid, you get a lot of time to sit down and you have to figure something to
by
do,
yourself,
and it gives you. But this cool story though that at 1 year old, and I might have to try that with my children, my grandchildren.
Yeah,
you have their birthday party, but you set out some things like, cool, let's figure out what you want to do.
It felt like a seance or something, you know. I don't know. Look at my artwork. I'm a little bit nuts, y'all. I don't know.
It's definitely a ritual. You know, it's definitely a ritual. But I think it's really good. There's an old samurai movie like that. You choose the ball or choose the sword. And it's the Lone Wolf, I think. One of those Lone Wolf movies.
I'll have to look it up.
And then the baby chooses the sword. And so then they go on the road from then on.
Yeah, like Ronin?
That's right.
Like
yeah,
that.
and then, like Ronin. Yep. But any case, that's cool, man. That's a great story. I like that. That's all right. You're doing good so far.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I like the camera, and the camera likes me.
So let's talk about now that you have some talent, you're starting to draw. Are you getting encouragement in school? Are you getting encouragement at home to the point where you're showing your work to the public, even if in school submissions and things like that?
Yeah, I was doing that. I by the time moving around everything, that was actually one of the things that I was able to use to meet people. Like I'd go to new schools, right, and meet new students. So what I would do is I would, homeroom or whatever. When I got a little bit older, like middle school, I was always the kid that came to me for the yearbook. I would do like their cool graffiti name in the front binder of the book and all that stuff, right? And so people were always coming to me, and I think I was like in 5th, 6th grade, I was selling work for like $10. Give me a bag of Skittles, and I'd give them a drawing, So I was running my grind that way. I wasn't trying to make money necessarily, but I realized that it had some kind of value.
That's right.
And people were drawn to it, and that's encouraging, And some people hated it, and that's okay. And you learn that as an artist, you're going to have to learn to take criticism and get rejection. That's just par for the course.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's what I would do. So yeah, I didn't move around. So I was that kid. I was that kid in class usually. There's usually like 2 or 3 of us that were in that class that all like to draw, and then it became like a competition. But because we were competing with each other, we all got better.
Right.
Things like that. And then we would do like science projects or whatever, like other projects that you need artwork for. And then the kids are like, hey, I want to be on Miles' team. Can I be on his team? Because you get in there and they're like, no, it's gonna look cool. We might get a C or a D, but at least it'll look cool.
Looks good.
So So yeah.
That's very nice.
So,
And did you take art classes and enter any drawing competitions or painting competitions?
you know, when I was young, I didn't do that as much. I did get encouragement from my parents. Both of my parents, you know, they were divorced. They both saw some talent in me, and they weren't overly enthusiastic about it. But I know my mom actually bought me art lessons, private art lessons, when I think I was probably 5th grade,
Nice.
6th grade.
Yeah.
And so that was my first exposure to actually like focused art lessons. And it's the typical art lessons. I go in there, I was like drawing fruit, with like pastels, learning about lighting, you know, that kind of stuff.
That's cool.
And of course, I was in 5th grade, so there wasn't like naked people walking around like for figure drawing. But it was like, you know, and I would get like zoo books, and I would draw like lions, things like that. And I was still drawing on my own time too, the stuff I enjoyed, like comic books and things like that. So
I think that's a good point to make right there.
Yeah.
Is that when you take art classes or you get instruction from somebody, you do the work that you're there to learn, and then you find time for your own stuff that you want to do for yourself.
Right. And hopefully you'll apply that stuff to your own work.
Right,
what
exactly.
You've learned,
That's
right?
the point, and that's the point, that you do learn and you apply things, but don't get stuck in that feeling and emotion when you're learning something, you're being taught that that's not what I want to draw.
Right.
And then you get stuck that you don't want to draw that, and then you're blocking out what you're learning. And I see those complaints on Twitter all the time.
Right.
Social media, artists complain about what their teachers are telling them and what they're learning. I never went to art school, so I don't have that experience.
Yeah.
But you know, apparently teachers want to narrow down what students are doing in class so that they can learn a particular lesson. But the
Exactly.
students are like, no, I'm paying to learn how to do this other thing.
Right.
It's like, no, you should learn this thing that you're being taught right
it's a
now.
technique.
And then once you get home, you draw what you want.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So-
well, there's two things that I think about that, and one is, at least for me personally, I never am going to know everything, ever. My dad actually told me that. He was like, a wise man knows that he does not know everything. And so I'm, even now in my career, I know my artwork is not perfect. I strive for that one unique vision that is so unique that people are like, oh, that's it. You hit that stride, that pinnacle of the mountain, so to speak.
Right.
But I also know that, you know, color theory, there's so many different facets. And I always, when I teach my students, I actually tell them, I'm teaching you lessons because I'm trying to teach you tools for your tool belt.
Right.
And when you get to a point, you can start pulling out these tools as you need them. But you don't have to use them all every time. But you're aware of them, so you can cater to your certain vision of whatever you're trying to accomplish.
Right.
And
Right.
I feel like in the long run, that helps you diversify into other fields.
Yes.
Because now you can apply these skills
Yeah.
to a finite project. You have an end game in mind.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. I love that example. That is you need a full tool belt
Yes.
with all the tools in it.
As
might
much
be
as possible.
Yeah, and you might be a screwdriver guy. You like
right.
screwing things in, yeah.
Or
You like
screwing things up, 'cause I do it all the time.
Screwing up, and you know, but you gotta have all them other tools in there because
Exactly.
you don't know at what point the job is gonna require certain things. So
Right.
you best train on all of them so that you're a full, complete artist who can handle all the different things that come your way.
Couldn't
I like
agree
that.
more.
That's
Yeah.
great. That's
Yeah.
good, man.
So, and
We're
hopefully it
learning
sinks
good
in-
stuff.
Hopefully it sinks into some students' heads. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah,
'Cause the
and-
students are like that sometimes. They're like, I don't want to learn this. I want to do this. It's like, just try what I'm telling you. Just try
Right.
it. And that's try for real. Don't.
try it.
Because a lot of times they'll half-ass it too. You know. They're like, no, they just give you something. It's like, come on, man. I know you didn't take time on this. Like, you're gonna be here for an hour.
I
We're
can
10
see
minutes
it,
in.
yeah.
They're like, I'm done. It's like, you're not done. You've
Yep.
only been here 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's all we can do is pull from our experience and know what it really takes.
Exactly.
And we can take a look at the art or the person and know already. And it's like me walking into the gym and talking to the NFL players, talking about, hey, I want to work out with you guys.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we work out all day.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, okay, I'll work out a little bit. Where my muscles at?
This
though?
doesn't happen in 5
Yeah,
minutes.
right. Yeah, like
This is a lifestyle.
So I'm gonna do this real quick. But where my muscles at? I've been doing this for 5 minutes. Where my muscles at?
Right.
Yeah, it ain't don't work like that.
It does not roll like that. It's a slow grind. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
There you go.
know?
So here you are in high school, and what are your thoughts about your art career, if you had any thoughts? Or what were your thoughts as a career? What were you going to do when you grow up? What was that?
I never really thought about being anything else other than an artist, whatever that meant. I really didn't know what that meant at the time. I just knew that I was like, I want to do something with my creativity. When I was 15, I created my own universe of comic book characters
Okay.
called Pinnacle Universe.
All right, all right.
And that's when the Marvel cards were out and all that mess. If you guys like comic books, I was a comic book nerd growing up, you know. So my brothers and I, we were always going to spend all of our allowance at comic book stores and things like that. And that's when comic books were really getting big, and the Wizard magazine was out and all that stuff. But yeah, Speaking of a contest, I did a contest in Wizard Magazine and won. I won
Okay.
like some like little comic book that came in. My brother was astonished. He was like, "You won?" And I was like, "I don't know. I guess I did." but yeah. So I forgot what I was gonna say now with the comic book stuff. But I mean, that was a huge influence on me. I forgot what I was gonna say about that in particular. But yeah.
But with that you didn't know what kind of career you was gonna have, but it was gonna be artist.
Yeah.
But that you were getting involved, and
I thought about
you
being a
was
comic
all
book
deep
artist,
into comics,
But
yeah.
I also like Calvin Hobbes.
And you
a lot.
created your own universe.
Yeah,
so what did you do with that? What did you
I
want to
use
do
like
with
the
that?
Marvel cards. The Marvel card. That's what I was going to get at. Yeah, the Marvel cards. You had those little systems in the back, right? Like the little strength,
Descriptions,
intelligence, vulnerability, or
Yeah.
like all that kind of stuff, right? And so I would use that system, and I would draw as best I could, like the character design, like flat on, and like a couple little action shots, and then I would get a piece of paper and I'd write down like the origin story, height, weight, and then the little power things, and I'd staple it all together. I still have a binder.
I was gonna
of
ask
some
where
of
they
that
at.
stuff. Yeah, they're in my studio. They're in my studio collecting dust. Some of the artwork, you look at it now as an older artist, you're like, I was trying though, you got to start somewhere.
Right.
But it really fed my creativity. So it wasn't just about my artwork. And also, at that point, I started thinking about storytelling. I started thinking about story structure.
Yep.
What are these characters' backstories? And that started leading into character design. Like, these stories help you design a character, the physical appearance of a character. And as I got older in my art career and I started diversifying, I started seeing those correlations much clearer. And I was very fortunate that I spent all that time doing that when I was younger.
I think that the comic books, I gave you the first look into how storytelling goes.
Yes.
Building of a suspense and being able to track what's happening and you try to apply it yourself.
Exactly.
Now, I will say, when you were talking about Spider-Man and the muscle groups and all that stuff, in the 80s, that's when I was going deep into my drawings.
Yeah.
I used to buy a lot of muscle magazines.
Yeah, the bodybuilding magazine,
And,
right? Me too.
and that's where I learned my
Yes.
anatomy. Yep, and because I admire Stallone and Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, we all did in the 80s, right? You had to in the
80s, yeah. and so drawing muscles was important, and you had to understand what the muscle looks like depending on what it's doing and so on.
Exactly.
And so yeah, that's it. All those things that we see in our childhood and when we're first starting to draw, then become an influence later. And there goes your storytelling.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's one of the things. In the Wizard magazine one time, I saw one of these art contests, and there was a picture. I think they did like Silver Surfer or something. But it was done really well. Technically, it was done really well. But it was a straight up pose out of like a muscle magazine that I saw. And it was like the guy like doing this or whatever with all his muscles in his hand doing that little like flex stuff. And it was, and I saw it and my memory clicked. I was like, oh, that's that pic. And I went and found the magazine because my brother had it. And I went through it and I was like, look at that.
That's it.
And Preston was like, dude, how'd you remember that? And I was like, I don't know, man. It was floating around and it connected.
Yeah. But because you studied it.
Yes, exactly.
When you're looking at pictures and drawings, you're studying it. You're like, what did they
it.
do here? How did that happen?
Exactly.
But Wizard did always have those little tutorials on drawing,
Yes.
and it was Brutes and Babes or something like that.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And
the
the
artist. What was
artist.
his name? Bart something.
I want to say that I can't remember the guy's name, the artist's name, but the characters always have like this bubbly looking hair. It would fade. It was made of bubbles and stuff, but the muscles was always hardcore.
I think the guy did Turok.
Okay.
He did like Turok comic book or something. I just remember that artist in particular because he had a certain kind of musculature style to him. The way he did it.
And lots of muscles,
Yeah, exactly. The forearm had like all these bumps on it. It was like, miss.
Yeah, because he
You
was
started looking at
he was
yourself,
copying
right?
he was copying my arm.
Copying you, right? You sending him selfies before selfies was a thing.
Yeah.
That's called a creeper, Dan. Come on now.
You crazy. So now you want to be an artist. You feel like art is what you want. You don't know what art is, what kind of artist or what the path is like.
Right.
So did you decide on a college that was going to expose you to more art and refine it, or?
I did actually. My mom took me over to Savannah College of Art and Design. At this point, I was living in Alabama, in South Alabama, just north of Panama City, actually, in a small town called Enterprise, Alabama. And I was about to graduate high school, and Savannah College of Art and Design wanted to take a look at my stuff, and my mom and I took a little road trip together over there to see Savannah College of Art and Design. But being out of state, the tuition was going to be through the roof. It was just like, I'm not going to be a doctor. I'm getting out with an art degree, right? It's like, this is a lot of school loans, man. I don't know how I'm going to pay you back. So I ended up going in-state. I got a small scholarship that I didn't even know about until graduation day to the local junior college So I went there for a year and then transferred to Auburn University, which is an in-state school.
Okay.
And I went to the art program there. I got my degree in fine arts. My parents were a little bit nervous about, my dad always said, do what makes you happy. Because my dad wanted to be a fighter pilot and became a JAG officer instead, which is, for you don't know, that's a lawyer in the military.
Yeah.
And
I know those guys.
And he was, right? Yeah, that's right, you're in the military. Right? Yeah. So anyway, but my dad, to this day, says he hated every minute of it. Like, he did not enjoy his job, but he did it for the kids and the family. And so we were growing up, he always said that to my brothers and I. Like, he was like, dude, do what makes you happy. Follow your dreams. And if you can do that and make sure you don't get tied down with kids and a wife, he's like, you should have that in your life too, but just take your time on that front if you're really chasing your dreams. Like, try to be happy. And so that's what I did. But there's always that fear with a parent, like some of my girlfriends, like, so what do you do with your life? You get in college, people start getting serious with their girlfriends, significant others. And the parents are going to meet him for dinner. And they're like, so what we're going to do is I'm gonna be a painter. And like, literally my wife, Marissa, my lovely wife, Marissa, who helps me with my art career tremendously. She's amazing. But she, when I was meeting her parents, her dad, to this day, I laugh about it, but the first time I met him, we were having tacos. And that dude straight up was like, he said, what do you want to do with your life? I said, I'm a painter. And he was like, what, you're going to paint houses or something? I was like, no.
There's money in that.
Yeah, right? I was like, no, I paint on canvas. And I just saw him. He was like, just looked at Marissa like, okay. And
he wasn't hungry no more.
Yeah. But I understand his concern, though, as anybody should. If you're logical about life in that path, it is a hard path. And so, as a parent, I'm sure you want the best for your kids. So that's a risk, And they don't want their kid to starve.
Right.
So, and that's the natural inclination, that old cliche, starving artist.
Right.
It doesn't have to be that way anymore. It's a different world now. But that doesn't mean it's still not a grind. So,
yeah.
But yeah.
It's going to be slow and it's going to take extra effort. Because I don't know why, like, you choose to be a doctor, you mentioned doctor,
Right.
And if you go to be a doctor, there's a clear path towards professionalism.
Yes, exactly.
Right? There's a clear path. And of course, it's still grinding. An attorney. Your dad was an attorney, in the military, but he was still an attorney.
You just get in trouble, boy. It was like a courtroom at our kitchen table.
I believe it. And the military and
and he was a coach and a sports coach.
And a sports coach, so he measured his words.
Oh yeah.
And so there's a clear path for that. School, college, internship or some kind of apprenticeship thing. I don't know what you call it, and like doctors, they call it something where you.
You get what is it called? We lived there for like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
actually in the hospital.
In the hospital and so on.
Right. Like the show Scrubs.
Right, exactly.
That's what they were doing, right?
That's right. Residency.
There it is. Yeah.
And so there's a clear path to then, like, oh yeah, you're a full-time doctor now. Now you can do your thing. Or you're a full-time attorney. Now you can do your thing. They'll do that for art. There's no clear path for art other than school, college, some kind of education. Then it's it. Okay, but you're not ready. You're done with the people telling you stuff, but the practice of actually building a career, a brand, a business is not there.
Exactly.
And so you're kind of just floating in the air, and that's
a huge
the problem.
Injustice, isn't it?
It is.
It's a huge injustice with the art schools. Like, they really don't focus on that a lot.
Don't get me started on art schools. But yeah.
Oh yeah, tell me. Don't get. I went to an art school. Don't get me started either. No offense, Auburn, but there were definitely some holes in that curriculum.
Right, and that never went to art school, and I only took one art class in high school, but. The learning, the fact is though that we all have to learn somewhere, and I like to, and I have a whole other opinion about self-taught that doesn't exist, but because even though I didn't go to school and take art classes, I still learned through others, and so I didn't teach my own self. I learned by being with other artists and so on, but that's the part where the fear of the starving artist, the fear of parents saying, well, what's my child going to do if he doesn't have a career? And because art, there's no clear path and there's no clear way. And it's very low paying until you start valuing yourself.
Yes.
And once you start valuing yourself and advocating for yourself, then you get what you're worth and what you feel your value is. And but you mentioned comics early in this conversation. I wanted to be a comic book artist, and then I'm looking around, and I can draw all I want now. I can draw anything and everything, But I'm looking at the comic book industry and like, dang, you're barely paying these comic book artists.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like that's no living wage.
Creative ownership.
Right.
If you can self-publish and own your characters.
In a sense, and that's still a grind too, because now you got to publish, distribution, and so on.
Right, exactly.
But I think that we've somehow allowed, and this art industry has been created in a way to take advantage of people of their passion. Because we're so passionate, we're gonna draw, we're gonna paint anyway.
Right, exactly.
You're gonna paint in your house. Why don't you go paint here at the restaurant, and we'll give you a burger.
Exactly.
You know, $15 meal, but you spend 5 hours painting there.
Exactly.
You know, and so because you see it as a good deal because I'm gonna paint anyway. So let me go ahead and do
I like
it there.
to eat.
And that's right. But I can paint 5 hours in my house and look at my fridge and it's empty, or I can paint 5 hours at this restaurant and get a good meal out of it. And you see it as an upside, and I'm not just saying you, I'm saying artists in
a lot of beginning
themselves.
artists, right? Yeah.
And we see it as an upside because we're gonna paint anyway.
Yep.
You see, that's gonna happen no matter what.
That's part of who we are.
Exactly. And so then that's where there's this big open area of empty space where artists are just funneling through the school system, coming out with debt,
Yep.
and then they're floating because there's no structure as to how do we build that business to become entrepreneurs, self-sufficient, thriving artists that is going to help them survive.
And that's one of the things I love that you do. You're a huge advocate for that, and I really appreciate that. It's one of the reasons that we actually started linking up after we did a few shows together. We did that, was an Artist King event, but we had a whole thing for like 6 months. We met like once a week, right? Every other week or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a great experience for me because you had brought in a lawyer who was wonderful, and we were able to take a slow process about copyright, how to build a business, how to start your business, how to maintain your business, which at that point I'd already had a kind of a working knowledge of most of that stuff, but it was nice to consult with somebody, and you set all that up, which is one of the reasons that I have such respect for you and what your efforts have. I mean, you're helping so many artists, and I absolutely love that. And I'm hoping when my career gets big enough, I can start giving back to programs like that and advocate for arts business education.
Right.
Was like C4 does that in Atlanta. You know, they're another program that does a lot of that. I've not taken any of their programs, but I'm aware that they do it. And I think that's invaluable for a lot of artists. And the sooner artists can learn that, I think, the better.
Right. And so quick shout out to Deborah Gonzalez. Find her, she's in Athens. That is the attorney she reached out to me and said, let's do this program.
Yeah,
and I was like,
she's
oh,
great.
let's do it, let's do it.
She's great.
I helped facilitate it, but she's the one who came with the brains and said, this is what artists need to know.
Yes.
And NC4 Atlanta is doing a lot of great work in Atlanta. It's a lot of organizations that are trying and to help artists find their way.
Right.
You know, that's all we want.
I don't want to give too many shout outs. I didn't know if there was like rules against
No,
that
it's
with
all
your production.
good. It's all good. But I think that at the core is that I enjoy seeing artists succeed because, and we're gonna get back to your story.
That's fine. That's all right. I don't mind. I'm here to help advocate too.
Okay.
You know, that's what the video's all about, right?
That's right. And so when I was in high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I joined the Marine Corps. You know, I said, well, let me find a job.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Being a military brat, man, I got mad respect for that.
And when I was, and so I figured I'd get a job that I can't get fired from. I didn't realize you can't quit either.
Yeah.
So
you got a contract, man.
That's right. It's a contract.
Hop on the plane. You're going.
Yep. And so to me, I knew I wanted to be an artist. I knew I wanted to draw, but I had no idea of what that meant in the real world, like because there's no clear path. On career day, there's no booth that says you can be an artist. You know,
Right.
I'm paying artists and doing this thing. I'm paying artists doing this other thing because artist means everything.
Right.
You know, there's no real definition out there. So I didn't know, but I did know that comics were drawn by artists, animations and cartoons are drawn by artists. So somebody out there is doing this thing. I want to be one of those
Why
guys.
not me, right?
That's right. And so as I got older and was in the Marine Corps and later came to Atlanta, I realized, wow, that is an actual career path. And there are artists who are well known, you know, Boris Vallejo.
Yeah.
Those are my favorites.
I like Jim Lee. Todd McFarlane's a big guy with the licensing.
That's right.
He did Spawn, started
That's
Image.
right.
That was a huge jump for them.
Yep. So when you're looking at these names and these artists, you're like, they are people just like me I have a talent just like they have. And if they figured it out and they got a career, then that means I can do it too.
Exactly.
And so now when I see an artist succeed, I'm like, that is proof that artists can do it and make it.
Right. Even
So
more
I
now,
enjoy
the internet age. Now you can do cartoon strips. Like
Oh
on
yeah,
the
you
internet,
can.
right?
It's
Like that.
wide open. It's wide open to what you want. It's just that now we can see. Now I enjoy seeing any type of artist using any type of medium succeed and build a life and be a thriving artist to the point where it feels inspiring to see that happening, and I want others to see it too.
Yeah, I agree. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So it's I'm a huge advocate myself. That's why I teach a little bit. I teach
Yeah,
these lessons.
I know you teach. I was gonna say you do teach.
Yeah, I do private lessons. I've taught some private lessons to kids, usually kids between 7 and 12 years old, kids that already show an interest in the artwork.
Right.
And then I break it down and show them either character design. I show them like the axes and stuff you can see in books. Just go buy a book. You can look at YouTube videos now and learn all this kind of stuff.
But sometimes it's easier to learn when there's somebody there talking to you, explaining things a little deeper.
And if they're doing something wrong, you can directly address them and say, "This is where you're messed up right here. Like, you need to fix this aspect. Think of it this way." YouTube videos can't do that.
And I think you have a class coming up, or you just do a class?
Well, I'm doing a workshop actually in a couple of weeks for children's book illustration, actually picture books, because I've actually done a line of those as well. Like, these are my fine art, but I've done some picture books called ButterpuffandFriends.com. Check it out. But yeah, so we're talking to publishers now. Larger publishers up in New York. I'm really trying to break into that market where they can help with the distribution, because it's difficult to do as a self-published author. Even a hybrid publishing, which is a whole different ballgame. It's kind of a half and half deal, which I got my own opinions on that too after my experience with it. But it's but yeah, so I'm trying to break into that market. But I teach these kids, and this workshop is very much about that, where I teach character design. Again, you get a little history of the character. It may not be in the story, but you know it as a designer, so you can design the character accordingly, and how to build distinctive characters and how to build something hopefully that can resonate with an audience.
Right.
And so that's really the point, because there's so many people I meet all the time. Go out and have some margaritas with people. You'd be surprised on their creative ideas, right? They're like, "Hey man, can you draw this for me?" It's like, "No, that's going to take me like 6 months." Like, you have to understand, like this is not something I can do like where we're sitting here on a napkin. And I'm sure you have that too sometimes.
All the time.
Which is great. It's flattering to have people come to you like that. But it's like, just like you, it's like, I want to advocate for your own education. Like, learn what you're getting involved with first. Learn the market, learn what's going on, and then you can apply your skill sets. If you're the artist, maybe you're a writer, that's fine too. But yeah, so
Nice.
the workshop is very much about the beginning steps and going down that path. And I want to make sure I set their expectations. Now, I'm not trying to dash dreams, but you got to be a realist. You can't live in the clouds. It's nice to have those aspirations, which is great, and you got to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, nobody else is either.
Right.
But you do have to have some realism in that vision. That's when I was trying to get food. I was like, I want ramen noodles.
Right.
All right, I'm trying to move up to chicken. I'm trying to move up to steak. So it's like I didn't go for the mansion right away.
Right.
I was going.
Exactly.
I was going for steps.
Yeah.
And goals. And
Yeah.
those goals led to the next level. Hopefully,
Yeah.
is where I'm going. And I've gone quite a few rungs so far, but I'm not done yet. So.
Right. And then that was so back to your story. That's what some of the things that you did.
Yeah.
You went to college, and then when you were in college, you were figuring those things out.
I was going to coffee shops. That was where I sent all my art shows. My professors actually, the professors either hated me or loved me, because I had my own vision of stuff. And as a senior in college, you have your senior project, and most colleges do this anyway that I'm aware of, where you kind of get to have your own vision. And then you have your senior show where you can go put it like usually the university will have like a gallery that these senior artists can come in and showcase their work, right? And so my vision was much like this, different but similar with the aesthetics. And a lot of fine art professors like, this is like illustration, this is like cartooning. They weren't aware of like High Fructose magazine, Juxtapose magazine, where street art, graffiti art, comic book art, pop art was all kind of melding with surrealism. And that's very much where I wanted to go. So my senior project was kind of jumping on that. But some of my professors absolutely loved me, because they'd go to the coffee shop on campus. There's like 2 or 3 of them. And I'm in there like, I have my paper pieces up with like paper clips, and I sell them for like $80, $100 at a time.
That's good.
And I'd sell one piece out of like 12, but man, that's, again, chicken, baby. I'm gonna go buy me some chicken now. But yeah, so that's what I would do in the coffee shop. And I was very entrepreneurial in that sense. Like, I didn't wait for somebody to come find me. I'm gonna go find you.
Right.
And I was proactive with that.
Yeah.
And that partially came from the military. Me being outgoing and having my own confidence and my own belief in myself, regardless of what anybody else said. And it is hard when you have a show and you don't sell anything. I mean, it happens. It's okay.
It's not all rosy. It ain't all up.
It's not. It's like stock market. I want to do this, So, and some of those failures are not necessarily failures. You got to learn them as like lessons. Like, what could I have done better this go around to make maybe somebody inspired to buy more work or do this? At this point now, we do price points, my wife and I. It's all about price points.
You got your data.
Yeah.
Because you're working with data, you done studied it.
Yeah, exactly, right. We've done enough shows that's like, okay, I can't just have like pieces up and everything's $1,000. Most people, they might love my work, but they can't spend $1,000. They got bills, they got rent, and they might love the piece, but it may not inspire them enough to drop that kind of money. Some people will spend that kind of money, which is great when they do, and you have to be appreciative of that. But where if you had a print, a $10 print, a little collectible print, they can put in an 8.5 by 11 frame or something. G-clay prints, you know, posters. Where if you paint it live, auction it off. Raffles are a great way to make money, from my experience. You get that wow factor, and then you do like $5 raffle tickets. You can buy as many tickets as you want.
Right.
But if we sell 1,000 tickets, if you bought 100 tickets, you have a better chance of winning it. But there's no guarantee. You know what just happened? I've had people get mad, like, man, I spent like $100 on raffle tickets. So it's like 2 raffle tickets and they'll win. But I always videotape the raffle drawing too.
Is that way you know it's fair?
Yeah, to make sure they know I'm not just making it up. You know, it's like, hey, here it is. Woo, check it out. And so, I mean, but it happens. But it's a good way to kind of curb some of your costs if you're putting on your own shows. So, but that's all school of hard knocks. Like, I didn't learn that in business school or a business thing. That was just something that I learned along the way in order to make money because I like to eat.
Right.
So,
because you want to not just be a free meal, or you don't want to just have your studio in a restaurant.
Yeah,
so
right.
that you can eat.
Yeah, exactly, right? But then you have an opening and you leave the stuff up for a while. I've had shows that last just one weekend.
Yeah.
But we have the opening on Friday, and then I go there and there for 3 days, and I stay there for 8 hours, just sit around. People will trickle in, but that opening usually gets crowded. But then after that, you know, people come back in. Sometimes it takes them a while, so make sure they have that promo materials because they might want to think about it, let it sit on them. Maybe they talk to their spouse or whoever, like, how do you want to buy this piece? What do you think? So it might take them a week or 2 to get back to you. I've met people that saw my stuff like 8 years ago, and they just now are buying a piece.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's proof in the pudding. They're waiting to see if I was like just a flash in the pan kind of deal, or if they really wanted to, is he going to go for the long haul? Is this a real guy? Is it worth my investment?
I didn't know that I didn't never thought about that because I got clients who I've known for years who finally say, Dan, we need your work.
Exactly.
And I thought that they weren't ready before, like they weren't at the place where that was the thing that we could have done.
Yeah.
But they could have been watching along, like,
Is he going to give up or is he going to stick with it? You know, because there's an element to that. Some people don't buy artwork because they like it. They like it too, but they buy it more for the investment purposes. I've had people contact me from college, like they know it was me on the website because they think that I had this big team or something, like I'm Randy Warhol. That's just not the case. But I'll write them back and be like, how much is this little flower study painting that I got from Miles back in 2000? How much is it worth now? I was like, it's been 19 years. Like, I don't know, and it's not even like the style that I usually do. I was just trying to make a meal, you know? So I was like, I don't know. I was like, wait till I die, I guess, and see what happens. That's not out of my control. I don't control the value. It's like, try to sell it, see if people want to buy it for you, know what I'm saying? So
yeah, put it in a yard sale.
Yeah, yard sale, right? Give me a nickel. That's fine, it's your nickel now.
That's it, yeah, you know? Right? So I just thought this whole time you've been talking about how you started and you were at a coffee shop or a restaurant. I think that's a great way for artists to do that now. And there's another artist whose story is similar. But that's a great way to find your favorite restaurant, find your favorite coffee shop, and be like, you know what, I want to get a couple meals out of this place. But let me just ask them if I can paint live, sit at a table, bring some brushes, and then for them to feed me for that day. You know, that's a good way to I'm gonna have to try that myself just because of some places that I want to go eat at.
Go, right? Yeah.
Like down the street, right here, we were talking about earlier, right?
Right? Yeah. There you go.
I might do that.
Steak and some beer for lunch. The life of the artist, people. You know, I went from chicken to steak now.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
We can take a nap afterwards.
A nap, right? Yeah, there you go.
And nobody's got time for that.
It's part of the act.
Right. Bohemian.
But another artist friend of mine, he was here, Neil. He said that his art is all the musicians. He paints musicians.
Oh, that's
he worked for the NFL and Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Nice.
And so as a photographer, so he has tons of pictures that he actually took of Tyson musicians through the last 20, 30 years. And so that's the themes of his paintings. And so he found a high-end audio home store, whatever you call those places where you tell them that you want your own home theater and they
Okay,
come in.
yeah. And they design it for you. And all that,
That's
right.
right. And they have all the gear and the showroom floors and all that stuff. So he told them to say, hey, we need some art that complements the music theme that you got going on here. And they said, okay. And so, of course, only people with high taste and high money go in those places, and that's how he got his artwork to people to
See,
to
he was on
price
his
it.
grind, but he was smart because, in my opinion, that's called accessibility. You're finding an audience. Art is a luxury item. That's one thing that I have learned. Unless somebody's hiring you to help design a character, or you're getting paid to do something behind the scenes on a design level, if you're selling your artwork just to be selling your artwork, fine artwork, which is what the stuff is here, it's a luxury item. People that are going to buy this artwork for $1,000, $1,000, they're either going to save for it, you need to take a payment plan, or they're going to have expendable income.
Right.
And they're looking to either invest or beautify their home, which is a whole other conversation about accessibility versus creative vision. And trying to find, this is my own personal opinion and my own experiences, but you got to find that balance,
Right.
you know?
We're gonna have to have like a whole nother series of videos and talks so we can like grind into those different things.
Oh, yeah.
Because you mentioned a whole lot of little things that add up to who you are.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe
We can do it. I'm down. I'll talk about that all day. Trust me.
Let's go.
Galleries, museums,
Yeah.
accessibility versus
Schools.
weird creative vision, schools,
Uh-huh.
art business side of stuff,
Yep.
not just creative side of stuff.
Uh-huh.
There's all kinds of things. You know, it's a complicated world.
Yeah.
And art is not like you said, it's not a cakewalk. You know, you gotta get in your grind. You're gonna learn stuff along the way.
Love it. So let's talk about your art style. So
Okay.
because you said that flower was 19 years ago, you don't draw like or paint like that, and that you had that, like all the influence of different things, how they mesh in together, and I think that's very evident in your art
Sure.
style. And so tell us about your art style development and content development.
Sure. Well, the actual paintings themselves, I have to say, are constantly in growth. It's a very organic process. If you were to see my sketchbook, it's actually kind of boring. Somebody offered to buy one of my sketchbooks one time, and my wife was like, no. You know, she slapped me,
That's a
not
gold
them.
mine right
She
there.
slapped
She
me,
know.
not them. She was like, no, put it down. But because I was going to sell it to him, because I want to eat.
All right.
So, but she was like, no, don't do that. Those might be worth a lot of money one day, and we want to save those, and you might go back to those later. But my sketchbooks are very simple. Like I write a lot in my sketchbooks as opposed to drawing. And so when I start, there's two aspects to my work: subject matter and aesthetics. My chosen aesthetics tend to run into my influences: cartooning, pop art, just the aesthetics, like the hard outlines, things of that nature. The bright colors are very much in tune with like comic books, things of that nature, animation, anime, things of that nature. So that's what I use for my aesthetics, my chosen aesthetics. But when I was getting out of art school, I made a conscious decision. I said, what subject matters are accessible, that are time tested? And I came down to a few conclusions. And they're my own personal influences, they're cultural influences, and for example, like religion, spirituality, science. This is actually something that's on the golden record. This is actually in outer space. I actually I did a copy of it. This is a star map of like quasars or something from the golden record. You can look it up. It's on a satellite. I forgot the name of the satellite, but it's in outer space. I love space. So a lot of my work will try to meld, like, that's an eyeball, right? But it's actually the Earth. Like, this is the sun. That's the third planet, but it's in the eyeball, like the all-seeing eyeball kind of deal. So I try to meld spirituality, modern spirituality, with science in a lot of my work. And what that does is they're both time-tested subject matters for painting, right? But it resonates with people. It's part of the human condition. So I have found those subject matters to be something that people are drawn to. I also I've been doing a little political stuff here and there, like this one here. This is an unfinished piece actually, but it's the financial Wall Street bull, and Uncle Sam. He's like a bullfighter. So it's kind of a light play on that balance of the two, like lobbying versus government, and who's in charge and all that kind of stuff, right? Which is a deep conversation, and that's the goal for a lot of my work. I want to do a modern aesthetic that reads from my generation, and that's a constantly moving, amoebic kind of thing. It's like an amoeba, it just kind of molds itself. And I'll start a painting, and as I'm going through it, I might go a totally different direction with it. Just I get inspired one day, I was like, I'm gonna throw some red, pah! And then, now I gotta balance out the red, right? You know, so now I gotta balance it out. Like well, now it's over here. Like, is there a reason that it's there? Like, why is it there? So it becomes a very organic conversation throughout the process. So a lot of people don't think that when they see my work. But like some of these pieces, I'll work on 10 pieces at once, and I'll take what I call shifts, where I'm actually like, I'll work for an hour or two on this piece. Take like a 30-minute break, get a snack, come back, work for another 2 or 3 hours, take a break, and then I'll come back and do some business stuff, check Facebook, do emails, that kind of thing. So, and some of these pieces, they've been in my studio for like a year or two, and I'm just now finishing them. So for me, they're all news, but I gotta remember to my audience, they're new. So, but that's kind of my aesthetic philosophy versus my subject matter philosophy.
Right, and then also then you just mentioned something else I want to touch on, time. So. So when you write on your sketchbook, are you writing the main idea out so that when it's time to actually paint it, you have a reference?
Exactly.
And you can get back into that mind state that you were in when you first started.
Well, it's actually a relationship. So some of my sketchbooks, some of these paintings I've had, like part of it will be a sketch, but I'll add that sketch to a larger composition or something. But I'll go back to my sketchbooks. I order my canvases in bulk.
Okay.
From the web usually. I'll order, different sizes, and I'll order like 3 or 4 boxes, get like 10 canvases, 11 canvases at once, right?
Oh man, it's like
and
Christmas
to me,
at your house.
I get excited, man. It shows up, I'm like, yeah, what's gonna happen? So I get excited when that happens, because as a creative, it's just like, oh, a lot of creatives, from my experience, and I know I'm this way, it's about the process. The finished piece is great, and you want it to be the best that it can be, but it is a footprint or a remnant of that creative process, at least in the fine art arena. If you're designing a cartoon or designing a comic book, it's a little bit of a different design process and creative process. But that's been my experience. A lot of creatives are very much like the process, the exploration and trying new things. That to me is the fun part. That's when I get new canvases, I get excited. Like, oh yeah, what's gonna happen? I don't know. I have no idea. But I'll go back to my sketchbook, and some of the sketches I'll look at will be from like 4 years ago. I don't have to remember it. It's written down.
Right.
But at the time, I might have had a vision, right? But now, 3 years down the road, I've done more paintings, done more things, and I've learned new things. So then I try to apply what I've learned to that old idea. And you'd be surprised when that magic happens, man. It's like Christmas when that magic happens. I go and I bug my wife next door. I'm like, look what I did, like a little 5-year-old. Put it on the fridge. Put it on the fridge. Put it on the fridge. And then I'll go put it up around our house. Like I'll put it up in my bedroom for a while, or I'll put it in the living room for a while over the mantle. And it won't be finished, but I'm kind of seeing how it sits on me, like in a living environment.
And I think that time difference of the time when you first have a part of the concept to the actually time when you start painting to when it's finished, your skill level will rise up to that occasion.
Yes, that's the plan. Right. And sometimes you experiment and it doesn't work. You can't be scared of failure, from my experience. Like, you just gotta try stuff. And there's times I'll start a canvas. What I've learned is I try not to use permanent mediums until I'm pretty sure I'm going the right direction.
Okay.
So paint you can paint over, but I use Sharpies in my work. I use spray paint, and I've gotten to this thing now where I try to use that towards the end. Because like if I varnish my work, you can see some of the shine on here. If I varnish my work, like the Sharpie and stuff will bleed through. So if I paint over it and all of a sudden the varnish hits it, it's like that varnish might cut through an important part of the piece.
Yeah.
I didn't want to have happen. I paint over it, but so I've learned some mediums. The layering process needs to be adjusted, and I ruined some good pieces too, man.
Yeah. That's happened to me with skateboards. I used to paint on skateboards a lot.
Yeah.
And I got a few skateboards I need to paint on, and so that oil and water based react differently once you throw that clear coat on.
Exactly, right?
And you're like, oh no, that's not how I wanted it to look.
Sometimes it bleeds.
It's done,
like I've done the brush up varnish, I'll start to smear.
It'll crack. Sometimes it cracks. It cracks, and
right.
sometimes it's cool little detail, but that's not how I wanted it. That's not
exactly.
what I did.
That's usually when I go to the bar. That happens a couple times. I text my wife. I'm at the bar. I'll see you at home later. I gotta work through it, right?
It's been a bad paint day.
I'm sensitive. You know, so yeah, you can be tough and sensitive at the same time. You can do both. You know. So, but I'm definitely that guy. Like I put on a brave face, but there's definitely moments of that. You know, despair kicks in. It's okay. It's a natural emotion, and it does happen. Or maybe you spent like 10 hours on the painting, and all of a sudden it gets ruined. You're just like, ah. But what I have learned is that happy accidents happen too. Sometimes some of my what I call breakthrough pieces, I'll do. I think it's messed up, but instead of losing my mind, I'll just set it aside for a while, and I'll just let it sit on my subconscious for a minute, and then a year later, 6 months later, I'll pick it back up, and I'll have a whole new vision for it. And it's because I messed it up. All of a sudden, I'm like, well, let me try this and see what happens. And sometimes that piece comes out wonderful.
Yeah.
You know, so you never know.
Yeah. I have a story about that because I had a tattoo shop with my brother-in-law, Lord Yada, and so we create different things, drawings, sketches. He liked to paint, and he still paints a lot. And so we're always doing something creative in the space. And I was drawing one time, and I showed him my drawing, and he spilled water on it. And
on purpose?
And yes, on purpose.
Hey, but he's a critic, man.
Yeah, and I think he was trying to play and scare me, but it actually got water on the drawing. It was an ink drawing.
Yeah.
But and it kind of looked kind of cool.
Right?
It looked kind of cool.
Yeah, right.
So I wasn't happy that he did that, but it was a cool effect that.
But once he sat on you for a little bit, you were able to digest it a little bit.
Yeah. And they look at it like, hey, that's not too bad looking now. So yes, and I think that those moments will then let you know whether or not you're cut out for this.
Yes.
Because it's an emotional thing, it's a learning thing. This art is going to ask a lot out of you, and if you're not ready to give it your all and stick with it, then you're not going to see this. You're not going to stay on it long enough to see the success happen.
Right, exactly. I honestly think that it takes a lot out of your family too, your loved ones, your close ones.
Right.
Because they really have to be on board for your vision, and you have to be conscious of their time and their efforts towards your career as well.
Right.
You know, it's hard sometimes to be appreciative of that, but be grateful of your support system,
Right.
whatever. You may not have one, I don't know, and that sucks, but I'm sure you can find friends or collectors or your wife or your kids or your mom or your dad. Like, that's where you start.
Or other friends, other people in your community.
And they will talk.
That's right. They will share with you. That's right.
Yeah.
And that's been my learning process, is not classrooms and not schools, but other groups, finding the drawing sessions, finding other artists that have the same kind of art style or themes or mediums as I, so that I can learn from them. It's like, what you got going on over there?
Yeah.
How'd you do that? Oh, hold on, let me try that. Show me. And that's how I learned.
Exactly.
And so you got to have a group of people. And my mother and my family was never they never encouraged me. They never encouraged art, and anywhere I went, they didn't encourage art. And the Marine Corps did not encourage my art.
Yeah, right.
So I had to find other people. I did look for other people, and I am an extrovert just like you. So I gotta be out there. Yeah. So I gotta be around folks, you know, and but they have to like the same things I like.
Right.
And so then that becomes your support system. That becomes your learning system.
Right.
And you can then feel comfortable pushing through.
Sure. Who are some of your favorite artists, out of curiosity?
So I mentioned Boris Frazetta.
Frazetta's the man.
Simon Bisley.
Yep.
And now these guys all draw muscles.
Right, yeah.
Right?
Like bodybuilding, kind of fantasy kind of stuff typically, right?
What is her name? Belle. She paints with, she used to paint with
Boris, right?
Boris,
Yeah. What is her first name?
I forgot. But Simon Bisley is the kind of guy that does this in a more comic style. So Simon Bisley does the muscles, the Boris Vallejo stuff, but then throws that comic art style into it.
Yeah.
And to me, that just blew my mind. And of course McFarlane, you know, but him, not just his art, but his business acumen. That dude is super smart.
Yeah.
And so those were my main ones.
Yeah.
I love the realistic and expressive.
So it's a lot of comic book artists that have classic training.
Right, they have classic training. Yeah, so I like the whole classic stuff, but I love the bold lines and the bright colors.
Right. Yeah, I do too.
And that's how my art style is now.
As you
right?
can tell, right? Yeah. That's why we get along so well.
That's right.
Yeah. I like bright colors too.
Yeah, bright colors. And you know, I'm not into figuring out whether it's magenta or cyan or you know what I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
I just know it's a shade of red.
It ends up happening on the canvas. You know,
exactly.
It happens. Okay, cool.
Exactly.
Let's go with that. So yeah, man. Is all those things that you like, and then you. For me, you said for you is the journey. For me, it's like, what's it look like in the end?
Yeah.
Is it what I thought it was gonna look like?
Right.
Did I hit it? Or did I miss it?
And if I missed it, you gotta figure out why.
Yeah,
right?
like what happened? What did I do wrong? And I study a lot of artists, and like a few years ago, I discovered that you layer your paint on the canvas to get the effect you want.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas what I was doing was trying to match the final look in my progress, not layer it, but then but just
Right.
like this part should have this kind of color and this kind of texture on it, and that's and you're breaking your head, trying to do it.
Right,
And
yeah.
whereas if you layer it, then you can build up to that point.
For sure, yeah.
And
There's
stuff.
definitely tricks, for
Right,
sure.
yeah. And that's just one of the things that I learned as time's gone on. And it's like, oh, I get it. So now, when I'm looking at the finished product, it's like, well, did I do that right? Did I do that part right? Did I miss it? Well, what can I do to come back and do some more on it? So it's
Right. Go burn it to the art gods, take it in the backyard.
yeah, man. Oh, paint over it, bro.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Help me out, dude.
Yeah. And sometimes you just spray paint it out loud.
Yeah, exactly.
It's gone.
Exactly. yeah.
Next,
Done.
I got another idea for this right here. So
Exactly.
So yeah, man. It's a good
Well, I can tell you, one of my influences is Gustav Klimt, if you're aware of him. His famous pieces like The Kiss and stuff. But Gustav Klimt, he was in Austria. I really loved his work. There's a lot of like more modern artists that I learned through Juxtapoz magazine and High Fructose,
you're right,
like
yes.
artists that I didn't even know existed. But like one of the ones that I really like a lot is Joe Soren. Like I have a book on him. Todd Shore is another one. That these guys are still alive and they're doing museum shows out in California and all this kind of stuff. And I feel bad. I don't feel bad. I've noticed that these magazines and periodicals, they didn't have a lot of artists from the Southeast. Maybe Miami. And I think there was one artist that came out of Atlanta that I was aware of that they put a feature on. And I've written them a few times trying to get into these magazines to build my audience in that direction out on the West Coast. But it's usually the East Coast, like northern East Coast, and the West Coast that they get a lot of their artists from. But there's definitely some artists when those periodicals first started, like I was blown away. I was like, oh, these guys are the jam. And I could tell they had some similar influences that I had. So it was interesting to see how they kind of did that. And I would look at their work, and you get ideas from other artists, and that's okay. Don't copy them, but learn from them. Constantly try to learn. So.
Right. That's good.
Yeah.
I should have asked you, who are your influences?
No, that's all right. Well, Gustav Klimt and Joe Soren are two off the top of my head that I've been looking
Right.
at recently. But I have books on Frank Frazetta. I got all three of his hardcover books.
Okay.
I got and Todd Shore's great. Which ones?
I need to go to your house.
Oh yeah. Come to the studio, man. We can hang out. Shoot, we can do a collab piece. I'm down for that too. I just got 10 canvases in, man.
Really? You got some fresh ones?
Let's do it. We got some fresh ones.
They're fresh. I got
Yeah,
7
it'll be fun.
waiting on me right now. 7
Oh, there you
canvases.
go. Nice.
Yeah. I know what I want to paint, but I ain't. I messed up and did a sketch. I did my thumbnails, and then I threw the paper away when I was getting rid of some papers.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm kind of mad. So I need to get back into that groove again.
I've done that. I was at Mexican, I guess it was about a year ago now, but I had a full sketchbook. I had like a laptop bag kind of, but I don't have a laptop in there. It's like my sketchbook. I had a whole journal of kids book ideas and comic book ideas and animation, like for Netflix, cartoon ideas, like premises and character ideas and stuff. And I met my wife for some margaritas, and we came back out after having dinner, and somebody smashed and grabbed. I think they thought it was like a laptop. And the cops came out, and of course they never found it.
Right.
But that was like, that sketchbook was like 2.5 years of ideas, right?
Damn.
So I went out the next day, got me another sketchbook, cried it out a little bit. Got me another margarita, sat down, and I was like, all right, what ideas were in there? What ideas were in there? And then I tried to remember what I could, and I just tried to rewrite it real fast. The ideas weren't as raw as they were first, but I was able to kind of regurgitate the ones that I remembered from the sketchbook as best I could. So I mean, I lost like a bunch of work, and I was depressed for a couple days, man.
You're going to see that on Mexican TV soon.
What's that? Yeah, right?
It's been in development all
my
along.
brother speaks fluent Spanish, I'm going to have him call. You're going to hear me in the background on speakerphones like, tell him, what's wrong, y'all?
Yeah.
Can't take my
We
stuff.
need our cut. We need our cut.
Yeah, right?
That's it.
You send me some money.
man.
I don't
Damn.
care. Send me pesos. I don't care. Give me something.
All right. So let's talk about your children's book stuff.
Okay, sure.
Because I want to know how that idea come about. Is it, and I'm guessing because you have lots of ideas and different, some of your ideas hit up on the things you like to do, and in adults, and the things you like to do for kids,
Correct.
and stories and so on. And then what's that path been like?
Sure. Well, it was about 2012. I think that was right, 2012. My wife and I we've been kind of like pacing away from like booth shows, but we would do little booth shows here and there, and I did a little sketch painting of this little puppy butterfly character that I did. It was a study painting, it was like very small. But somebody came around, they saw it, and what's ironic is that it was a reclining nude.
All right.
And she was just sitting up sideways, and you could see her knee was kind of at eye level. And for whatever reason, just organically, I was like, something needs to go on her knee. Like, what is she looking at? You know, and I don't know why I thought that. It was a little, like a study painting. So there's a little character on there. Somebody came along that loved it, right? So they bought it, and people started coming back and asking about it at this festival. And my wife, as smart as she is, came to me and was like, I think you're onto something with this. And I've always toyed with the idea of doing picture books, you know, because they're such a diverse medium. But there's definitely a different creative muscle. It's not as avant-garde or serious as some of this stuff. So I thought it'd be a nice little creative exercise. So I started looking into licensing. That was one of my inspirations at first. I started looking into it, and I realized that animation and picture books are the two most common avenues of which licensing happens. So I was like, all right, you can't just jump into licensing because nobody wants to license your stuff because nobody knows about it. So you have to build kind of this brand around it. Being the oldest of 5 kids, like I was always reading bedtime stories to my younger siblings. I was changing diapers. Like, I mean, they're like 10, 12 years younger than me, like, in that range. So I was definitely, helping with the kids and things like that. So my grandfather, my parents were divorced. He would sometimes record the Bernstein Bears, like on little tape cassettes, and give it to me and my brother when we were younger, and we would do the kids' books. So I had very fond memories of picture books and such. So I was very excited to start working on the idea. As I developed it, I got really excited about it. Like, I was like, I'm enjoying this energy. Like, I'm enjoying this thought process. And then I spent 3 years looking at the marketing aspect of it. Like, what are the industry standards? How many pages? That kind of stuff. And it was a really nice way for me to exercise my character design skills. Instead of doing like one-off paintings. Like, I have to design a character. Can the character be happy? Can it be sad? Look from the back, from the side, from a distance, up close. So I really got to experiment and play with those processes, which was a lot of fun. It's been a grind. We've had 4 books published through smaller publishers, and we've gotten all the rights back to that, and that's the whole art business thing. But yeah, and we're looking at big publishers now in New York, like I mentioned earlier. So we're looking at that now. But it's butterpupandfriends.com. Some of the character designs are shifting a little bit based on what the big publishers want. It's a team effort.
Because they give you feedback? Are they telling you?
Yeah, they don't like this, they like this, or you send them thumbnails and they want to change the way an illustration looks, or they want to trim up the story, they want to edit the story. And we also write our stories. So, but if you're an illustrator, it's a team effort. Like, you have an editor, you have an art director, you have a writer, and you have an illustrator. If you're the writer and illustrator, that's cool. But you're going to be getting edits from both of those people on different aspects of the book. So it's not doing fine art painting usually is a very solitary endeavor. Picture books, once you get your edits and your direction, it's kind of solitary, but you are working with a team, just like an animation production, things of that nature. So yeah, but it's been great. It's a different creative muscle. I'm very excited about the future of what I'm doing, and I've actually spawned off into a journal where I'm doing other picture books as well. I've illustrated 2 picture books for other people and got paid for that. Been able to push my acumen in that direction. I'm doing workshops on it now that we talked about. So it's a different revenue stream, different creative muscle. So there's a lot of positivity to it. I have to balance that out with the Massive Burn stuff, and that's my fine art, by the way, massiveburn.com. So check that out. But yeah, so it's just a nice departure from doing stuff like this. Right.
That's good, I like your versatility because you're not just doing one thing over and over and over and over, which I believe that was the thing. I like comics. I wanted to draw comics and nothing else. And I like acrylics, and I will use acrylics and nothing else, pencils and nothing else. And then, but I learned from others, and so I met a few artists who like to experiment. It's like, why'd you waste your time with that? Because it's gonna come out ugly. Why are you doing it? But it's that experimentation that you might discover something new out of yourself, and it's like, I get it.
I can use it on the next piece.
Yeah,
like, come out cool, right?
Yeah, and so now I like to try different mediums and do different types of projects that take me in different ways, so that every time I start something, it feels new.
Yeah, keeps you excited.
Yeah.
I feel like some artists can get stale. And that's like one of my concerns when people are saying, you should paint some flowers. And I do paint flowers on my website. There's a whole section of me just painting flowers. But I try to add something new to it. So the way I at least describe it anyway, is that I cartoon the flowers. I do like hard outlines around the flower petals, and I put little dots on it. And I do. It actually ends up looking a little bit Van Gogh-ish when you go down the rabbit hole far enough with that process. But I wanted to add something new to it, right? So these flower pieces have that accessibility, but I feel like as an artist, it keeps that creative spirit fresh.
Right.
If you just do the same thing over and over again, like, and that's one of my biggest fears. Is like could you imagine being in a rock band or like some musical group, right? And you have the one-hit wonder. 20 years down the road, you just play the same song over and over again. You're getting paid, which is great, but as a creative person, that's got to be so like.
Right.
Oh man, I'm stuck doing this. Like it's almost like a sentence in a weird way, right? So there's a balance of that success versus, and I try to make sure I remember that, like be grateful for those successes. But I do continually try to find new avenues and new revenue streams and new ways of expressing my creativity.
Right, and you want to challenge yourself. You know, I think that's the part of the creative process, and I think the word creative and the word artistic have really deep, different definitions. But so when we say creative, it's like something new, something that's coming out, and that's a challenge in those new things to see how I'm gonna make that happen.
Right.
You know, and anybody who's an artist, sometimes get stuck in doing the thing that they're very familiar with and they like. You know, maybe the rock star does like playing that one song because that's the best song they know how to play.
Right. Exactly.
You know, but then. That's not what we want. At least you and I hear these two people talking right now.
Right.
You know, creative-wise, we want to always keep expanding that, expanding.
I've worked with musicians before. I've done rock album covers before for different bands, and that, from my experiences discussing music with these musicians, like they're just like a visual artist, but they do it with audio. They do it, you know, with their ears, not their eyes. So they're very much like that usually too. And again, they're grateful for their successes, and it's a hard industry, just like being an artist.
Right.
So there is that kind of balance there, but. Creativity is creativity, and to keep that spirit fresh, I do feel like that experimentation, like you said, is an extremely important part of it. And you can't be scared of failing.
Right.
Experiment. It may work, it may not, but you might learn something.
It's not a failure; it's a lesson.
Yeah, there you go. Right, I like that.
All right.
Did I say that?
Because you said.
I said, okay, cool. Let's make a T-shirt. Let's do a T-shirt with that. I don't know what I say. I just start to be talking sometimes.
Oh man, so last couple questions,
Sure.
because I know we've been going long, and thank you anybody who's still watching and so on.
Thank
We're gonna please leave a comment, let us know how you feel about what we're saying. Hopefully, we'll take our time to answer and respond to any questions and comments. I want to also, before I get into the last two, go ahead.
I was going to say, can I use the restroom before we take questions?
Yes, you can.
All right, cool. I got a high metabolism, people. I'm drinking coffee, you know?
I'm going to switch to my camera. So I'm looking over here. You can go on around that side.
All right, cool.
But I wanted to take a moment to give a shout out to CineMaker Studios, Sketchable app. CineMaker Studios has an app called CineMaker, and it's available on iOS and iPhones and iPads. And that's the application that we're using right now to record this show today, but Coffee Break with DTM. And it uses multiple cameras, multiple phones, and so on. It's a great app, and it's free. So go ahead and download it now on your iPad and your iPhone. Then Sketchable app is a drawing app for Windows devices. It is best made. It was made specifically for the Surface line of computers, where you can draw right on the screen. So check them out. They're really cool people. I want to give a shout out to Velocity Screen Print. They are my printers. They actually, Bo Harmon of Velocity Screen Print drew this drawing of this lady and did the shirts for us for a show many years ago. So check them out. Big ups to everybody who's been supporting us, and Artist King, coming out to Artist King meetups. We have an Artist King meetup coming up this Saturday, and check the website artistking.org. Or check the meetup group, because that's where we update all the events that are coming up. And so we feature free meetups where artists can come in, ask the questions that they need the answers for when it comes to the business of art, and we'll try to help them and work it out, try to get as many answers and resources as possible so that you can build that thriving artist life that you want. Last couple of things is check me out, Delta Tango Mike. I'm everywhere, all over the internet, working on digital and traditional media. I love to draw. I like to draw. That's one of my hashtags. And so yes. And then I'm gonna show you a shot of the studio. This is Hollywood. We got the big lights. We got the awesome artwork. Now you can see the artwork of Miles Davis. Miles Davis, the visual artist.
Yep, massiveburn.com.
Massiveburn.com. But yeah, this is a quick shot right here of what's going on. I got the iPad right here. You can see the phones. They're right there. Let's see. Yep. You can see. I'm trying to see where I see it. It's right there. You can see that phone. It's there you go. He's pointing at it. And so those are the shots that you're getting of us here sitting down. So yeah, so do check us out. Follow some of the links. Let us know how we're doing. We're gonna respond to everybody and share. Please share it and share it on all the different artist groups that you're in and so on. So that way others can see and learn from this experience today. Okay, so we're gonna get back into it, and there's the last couple of questions that I have for Miles Davis. I do believe that we're gonna have to set up a series of conversations because he's a very smart guy. You wouldn't know it when you see him and his wife. She looks smarter than him.
She is smarter than me. She is smarter than me. And she's a better person than me too. Love you, babe.
And but you know, definitely full of great information that and opinion that we want to talk about and share because, as you can see, he has political leanings, discussions, and themes. Yep. And then, of course, we were mentioning a few things about the artist's art life, the thriving life, business, and the business of art, and so on. So there's some few things that we're going to have to touch on when we get a chance. All right, sure. So last couple questions for you.
Let's do it.
Social media, where do we find you?
Social media, well, I'm on Facebook. Don't ask me for the link because I don't have all that memorized, but we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. Massiveburn.com, as I mentioned before. That's our website that you can buy prints, posters, and look at all the newest work. I just finished 18 pieces, so those should be up soon. So I'm excited to expose my audience to that. Yeah, and then, of course, my kids' books are at Butterpup and Friends. Not but and friends.com. So, yeah, and I'm working on some more moves with the Butterpup stuff. And yeah, so just hit us up if you have any questions. I do commissions all the time. I've done other people's picture books. Just all kinds of stuff. So yeah, so I'm a creative for life.
Creative for life.
Creative for life. So I'm gonna go to my grave. I'm probably die in my studio. That's how I'll go out.
That's it, huh?
Yeah, poor Marissa, you're gonna find me just killed over my studio one day. But that's all right. Probably with a big smile on my face.
There you go.
Right? Maybe I'll be angry. I don't know. I might be that angry old man. Who knows? You know. I hope not. But you know.
How many canvases do you think you've painted so far?
Total, since I started like taking it seriously. I actually started taking my art career seriously. I went to art school, but you never really know, you know, because you're still trying to figure out yourself as an adult. When I got out of art school, everybody has their doubts. So I would say I started taking myself very seriously when I was about 24, 25 years old, and I'm 40 now. So, what was the question?
How many canvases have you actually painted?
500 at least.
500?
500 at least.
In the time that
various sizes.
From the time you decided that you were going to be serious, or is that total in your life?
About the times I've been serious. I think I probably had about maybe close to 100, I guess, when I started taking myself seriously. And then I've been systematically just putting them out. And I didn't want to put them out too fast. I mean, sometimes you want to have supply and demand. You know,
you want people to miss you a little bit?
A little bit, yeah. You need to have that happen a little bit. But that means you have to do really good work, and that takes time. So I try to find that balance of thriftiness and quality. And if I have to pick one, I'm going quality every time. Because I feel like that's what's going to have the legacy effect, as I call it. Like if you
in 100 years, your art still look vibrant.
Right. I'll be dead, but you know, so I want to have a choice. So people are going to do what they want to with the work. I want to have a choice in what happens. But I am trying to build a collection that people are happy to see. I am hoping one day my goal is to get into a museum. I'm not even going to lie. That is my goal, is to get into museums. And in my lifetime, I'm hoping to build at least 1 to 5. People call it masterpieces, but that's not my choice. I don't get to pick and choose what people think of my work. I just do the best work I can every time in hopes that it resonates with an audience, hopefully after I'm gone. But
I like it.
The only thing I can control is how I do my own work. I can't control what the public's going to do with it.
Right.
You know?
So last question is, if you could go back in time and talk to the Miles Davis of right before you decided to get serious, what kind of advice would you give him?
Ooh. Stop being so serious. Like you're taking yourself way too seriously, man. Like, just enjoy the ride. And it took me a long time to realize, because I think a lot of young artists coming out, and I was the same way. Oh, I'm gonna get discovered. I'm gonna be famous in 5 years and all this kind of stuff. And that does happen to people, but that's like winning the lottery. It's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. Enjoy the ride. Do your best. You're gonna have good days and bad with any career. And you might as well be in a career that you actually enjoy doing. So, yeah, just stop taking yourself so seriously, old Miles. You know?
All right.
So.
I love it. All right, cool. Well, this is DTM. This was Miles Davis. I mean, Sean, because he was giving a shout out. Go ahead, do your goodbye.
Thank y'all.
And this is DTM, Miles Davis. Thank you for being here at another coffee break with DTM.
Yeah, cheers, homie.
Cheers, brother. Another edition of Coffee Break with DTM. It's a great ride that we're on because we're living the life that we want to live, creating things every day, and getting our dreams. And I like to think of it as living in kindergarten. You know, you're in kindergarten every day.
Right? Yeah. Here's some crayons.
Here's some crayons. That's right. And so thank you for being here. Please leave a comment. Let us give us your questions. See you at the meetups. Come on out to the classes and workshops. We'd love to meet you. We'd love to talk to you about your work. Tag us in your work. I'm Delta Tango Mike. That was Miles Davis with massiveburn. And we'll see you next time. All right. Talk to y'all later. Y'all gonna see me click on the out video.
Out.
Peace.